Morning, everybody. Wow, the screen looked really shaky today. Curious. Maybe it's the cold that's making that happen? Anyway, back to walking to work today. And been thinking a bunch over the weekend about ecopsychosocial systems. And this notion of like our multi-bodied self. What do I mean by that? We obviously have this physical body here, but then we have an emotional body, a mental body, a spiritual body. And I could go further down a list to acknowledge that our physical body actually involves the earth. And in particular, whatever ecosystems you find yourself living in and with. And this ecopsychosocial system is an acknowledgement that in the ecology that we live in, and we share it with however many other people we're sharing it with, that our collective psyche interacts with that landscape. And because we are social beings and everything around us has some degree of consciousness, that there's a mutualness between ourselves, the earth, each other, and all the other living organisms that are around. And in having whole health, there's an acknowledgement that each of those bodies, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, all have healths associated with them. And that when any one aspect of that ecopsychic social system isn't in a place of health, that it affects all the other parts. Now, I live with a bunch of other people, and in contemplating this, I've heard it said that everyone is contagious. And this idea that you're either bringing your health contagion to the situation or your illness contagion to the system. Now, here I am at Orchestra Farm. It's one of my beloved ecopsychic social systems that I get to play with, and it's pretty wet here today. And it's interesting to notice, like, when I'm in that active cultivation space, that active tending space, that the presence that we bring to that cultivation can really affect the outcomes of it. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go to the grocery store and buy food, it's got one kind of a taste. And when I pick it from my little farm here, it has a different flavor sets to it. It affects me differently. Maybe you'll notice this even more if you raise your own animals and taste that compared to meat that you buy at the store. And a nuanced difference if you're a hunter or a gatherer. Oh, that's interesting steps there. Related with the taste of those meats and, foraged things. To me, I love the wild taste of things even more than my own well-tended space. There's just something potent about it. But back to this idea of health, I know plenty of people out there who, when they plant their gardens and all those things, are actually coming from a place of scarcity and fear. And they're pumping that into their plants or into their livestock. And I'm not going to say that I can taste it like it has a particular, flavor profile to it, but I feel it affect the food. And I can tell the difference, not in a way that I could describe, but just in relation to like the food that I myself am growing. And in my particular case, the eggs that I'm eating. I've got some chickens at home for egg production. And it makes me ponder the sense of like, we don't always drop in deeply enough with each other to know what's going on mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And I know I grew up, we didn't have a particularly restrictive spiritual thing going on in my family, but there was a lot of Irish Catholic influence, for better and worse. And I knew that, the whole guilt and shame phenomena that goes with it is nothing that I was particularly interested in. And I noticed how that can affect nuanced experience, subtracting from the overarching health of a situation. And so my postulation today, as I get carried away with this particular video before I get to work, is how do we address that when so much of our lives are privatized? What do I mean by that? I mean, I don't go sharing about every little nuance that happens in my life. I don't necessarily just declare what all my problems are, or what emotions might be troubling me, or mental things that are troubling me, or if I was getting real deep on the situation, the spiritual things that might be troubling me. It looks pretty good at the farm today. And with that, the people that live with me don't necessarily have a clear insight into what's happening. And so, whatever disruptions are potentially impacting the health of any of those bodies of myself actually could become a contagion to those that are around me. And so with my wife, as a for instance, we try to be really open and honest about what's going on with ourselves, so that way we can both reveal other pieces of that to each other, so as to, make progress in continuing to live our best lives, to be healthy for the long term, to really look at all the different parts of ourselves and make changes as necessary, even though sometimes either one of us aren't necessarily interested in making the change that the other person sees. When you talk about a group situation like an ecopsychosocial system, there's that space of like, how much of any of this is my business or my concern. Now, you add kids into the mix and you recognize that they're picking up on all kinds of stuff. If someone has a bad habit, a kid might pick up on it. And I'm not all about the shame stuff. At the same time, I'm also like, hey everybody, let's get it together and improve ourselves. And it's by having those mutual reflections, I feel, that really helps us make leaps and bounds rather than just, crawling a few inches forward. And it's great to crawl a few inches forward, but I know some people that just crawl backwards. And you're like, what's going on there? We all have different traumas and things in our life. And I'm not here to say that I'm a psychologist or whatever, but I'm noticing these fine nuances and I'm seeing their greater ramifications for us collectivizing better and collaborating with the world around us. If you've got any questions about this, I'd love to hear from you. Write them in the comments below or send me an email. Check me out on my website, bendingreeds.com. And thanks for watching this. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Super appreciate when you do that. I hope you're all enjoying our winter time, if that's part of the world that you're in. And if you're in the southern hemisphere listening, hey, enjoy your summertime. It's got to be pretty awesome. Talk to you soon. Have too much fun.